welcome to the first Travel Alchemy interview with our dear friend Yaegon Lamagaia, aka Kalya Scintilla. For those of you who are not familiar with Mr. Scintilla's music, I'll briefly read a quick introduction about the art that this being creates for us. So, traversing the cosmos, gliding across dimensions beyond time and space, Kalya Scintilla brings universal shamanic journeys through his music to planet Earth, straight from his heart. His music paints sacred soundscapes with world fusion beats from ancient futures hidden amongst our forgotten memories to bring forth lush healing vibrations to activate the dormant codes within us. Yaegon, welcome. It's good to see you, my friend.
You too.
Yeah. So I understand you've traveled a fair bit in these last couple of years. Could you I guess we can just start by, I'm curious about your experience and what life is like as a traveling artist.
Well, let's see. I guess it kind of all happened quite abruptly from just traveling around Australia, playing gigs locally and going over to New Zealand occasionally. And then in 2011, I was flown to Israel to play my first big overseas show. And that was a little taste of traversing around the globe. And then after that, later on, I went to over to the US, and then from the US I went down to South America. And then the following year it was even more full on with more of US and Central and South America, Canada. And so it was interesting when I started it very with this energy of whoa, I'm traveling the world. It's so cool. I quickly learned that there was quite a few tactics I needed to implement to be able to do it consistently and always have a good amount of energy. Yeah, so it's been a learning path, and last year was the most intense, where I went from Australia to the Middle East and across Europe and Russia to the US, and then down through South and Central America again. And there was more traveling last year than I've ever done before, and it's been an awesome and roller coaster-like ride.
That sounds amazing. I'm really curious what some of these things that you've learned. You said you eventually learned you had to sort of adapt a few, practices and things to keep yourself energetic and healthy on the road. I'm wondering if you're interested in sharing some of those things.
Yeah, sure. Well, I started out, when I started to travel a lot, I'd taken on a very strict vegan and gluten-free diet, and my intention was to eat as organic as possible. But I soon found out traveling that was not really possible, because many places it's just very difficult to get food of a really high quality. And so I spent a lot of time fasting in my early travels, because I'd not want to eat anything on the aeroplane or the airports especially. And then traveling to and from gigs, sometimes, we just have time to go to a local supermarket or even a service station. So, I would travel a lot with nutritional supplements. I guess Health Force Vitamin Mineral Green was probably the one I've been using the most consistently. And I'd often just have my supplement powders and mix those up in a nice drink and have those in replacement for food. And that worked for a while, but as my travels got more intensive and I was going for weeks or months through places like South and Central America, I realized that I just had to be a bit more adaptable and to let go of my rigid approach to eating. And it was interesting because during that time, I suffered from several parasites that I picked up from contaminated water and food in Bolivia and Brazil and Mexico. And it was interesting because I was trying so hard to be so healthy. And then I went and got these parasites. So I thought to myself, like, why have I attracted these if I'm trying to be so healthy? And I realized that it was just my eating habits were very judgmental. Like I had a lot of judgment to other types of food that I wasn't eating. And so I realized that this sort of like rigidness within me had sort of brought these things towards me. So it gave me a perspective of just reassessing and being a bit more relaxed and being adaptable. And if I'm in a place and I have to eat some wheat or I have to eat some dairy, it's just, there's a bit more, I just feel a bit more relaxed and open to do that. And it helped a lot. Like, okay, I wasn't eating the things that I always wanted to, but my body was definitely a lot happier. And has been for sure.
Yeah, flexibility is really, really key for so many countries and so many places. And definitely the Vitamineral Green has been an incredible ally for me personally as well.
Yeah.
It's a really, really great product. So, yeah, I'm curious, eventually you started talking about how you eventually had some reflection about your own judgment on dietary habits and things that was eventually getting you sick. So, which makes me think of the whole process of becoming self-aware. And so the whole mission of Travel Alchemy is a belief that travel is a spiritual path and that there is a way to travel consciously. So I'm curious what your definition of conscious travel is, if you have such a thing.
Definitely. Well, I feel that considering yourself conscious, you really need to be conscious in all aspects. And with what you consume when you travel, being conscious would be seeking out local farmers wherever you go, looking for markets and local produce. If you happen to go to a supermarket, like I do sometimes, I always look for organic products because that's the kind of world I want to live in. For me, like, it just makes sense that we should be eating organic and not spraying a whole bunch of chemicals on our food. So in order to live in that sort of a world, you need to have the mindset that supporting and buying those products wherever you go is supporting that lifestyle and that world that you want to live in. So I just take that as like a general rule, and I usually do a bit of research online when I'm flying into a new city. I look on happycow.com for like local vegan and vegetarian restaurants and local organic markets and farmers markets. And I just do a little bit of research and I ask whoever's hosting me for a gig to just take me to these places. And it's interesting because often the people who drive me around, they don't even know these places exist, and then they go to this amazing organic market in their backyard and they're like, wow, this is great, I never knew this existed. So yeah, and just being aware that, when we support people locally, it's so much better than supporting these massive corporations. That's the local farmers and people that really need the support. And so even like that's definitely like in the food sense. And then conscious traveling. outside of food can mean so many things. It can mean the awareness of how much I don't know, like the resources that you're using to travel. I mean, for me, my path is already very laid out when I go for shows and gigs. But if I'm doing travel either side of a show, I usually just befriend locals and people who are part of the festival, and then they take me around. And yeah.
Local connection is super important.
Yeah, totally. It's awesome. Like, it doesn't matter where you go on the planet. I noticed that humans just really want to help humans generally. And if you have that in your awareness, then you'll be always reflected by people who around you who are wanting to help you and show you around and go out of their time to look after you.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I've come to understand as well, is that there's good people everywhere.
Yeah.
There's good people everywhere. What's one of your favorite places you've ever been? One of your favorite countries, or favorite experiences rather, traveling?
Wow, they're all so different, you know. I recently went to Japan, and that was incredible. I've never enjoyed being in a city so much as Tokyo. Just the culture and the people and polite. Everyone was very humble and genuine, and the mountain area I got to visit was so beautiful, and the forests were amazing. And yeah, it was really a place that I'd love to go back and visit again.
Japan. I'd love to go there. Something that I'm really curious about is that I know you have a new album coming out called Open Ancient Eyes.
Uh-huh.
And something that you've told me is that a lot of the influence, a lot of the inspiration that's gone into this album has been, as a result from a lot of your experiences traveling all over the world, playing gigs, playing festivals, being immersed in other cultures. So what can you tell me about that?
Well, it kind of happened the other way around. It's sort of like in December 2012, I sat down with my beloved, and the two of us got together and conceptualized an album which was based a little bit in the story of the hero's journey from Joseph Campbell, but also on the interrelation of mythology and the human story at large on the planet, from the past to the present. And so we decided to create an album that would musically take a person on a journey into the temple of the self, where they would understand their connection in their blood and their DNA and their water to all the waters and all the tribes of the earth, and not just now, like in the past as well. So kind of bringing forth the idea that we've been all these different tribes in all these different lives through our incarnations here on the planet. And so the bulk of the album just takes the listener on a journey through world music and brings forth a lot of different sounds from these tribes and these lands. And we got like maybe a third of the way into the album in Australia. I kind of just wanted to just create this album and have it done in the 3 months we were there. But interestingly enough, we had to really live the story ourselves to understand what it was like to be going to all those lands. And then so we journeyed from Australia to the Middle East and Russia and Europe, and went across so many different lands with so many different vibrations, and we met so many different tribes at all the festivals we went to, each with their own flavor and their own expression. And so that sort of took us on a journey through that part of the album that hadn't been written yet, to understand what it's like to be in different tribes. And then there's a journey through the underworld, and so I went consciously into a very deep exploration of the shadow within myself and the world at large. And then the album comes into the ascension, which is the rising of Horus. And so, yeah, the whole journey, I mean, it's the power of intention. You know, we set an intention for the album, for the story, and we really had to live it to understand it and then be able to bring it through in the art.
That sounds really amazing.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for this project to launch and to be played far and wide. If there's any one piece of advice you could give someone who's about to embark, maybe on their first journey abroad, maybe on their last journey, who knows? If there's any one piece of advice you could give people who are about to go on an epic journey of personal transformation and the hero's journey, what would that piece of advice be?
It would be, get out of here and into your heart and be fully in the moment wherever you are, because that's when you pick up on the magic, and that's when your intuition and your heart guides you to the most amazing experiences. You know, when you're in your head and you're traveling, you're just thinking, oh, should I go left? Should I go right? Should I go here? There's a lot of confusion involved if you play a very mental map of what you want to do when you travel. But if you remove that and you just go in the flow and let your feet and your heart guide you, you just come across the most amazing characters and the most amazing places.
Beautiful. I 100% agree. Will you tell us when Open Ancient Eyes is being released?
Sure, it's coming out on the 23rd of this month, so not too far away at all.
Beautiful. September 23rd. Lovely. Well, that about wraps it up. Thank you so much for talking with us today. Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers to you, my friend, and really looking forward to this album coming out. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thank you.